Ant-Man and the Wasp, directed by soulless Hollywood hack Peyton Reed, is one of the worst Marvel movies I have ever fucking seen in theaters. This is not a hyperbolic statement. I genuinely believe this is just an audio and visual dickwart. It also stars Paul Rudd, Michael Pena, Evanescence Lilly, Michael Douglas, Lawrence Fishburne, and a shit ton of other actors who have nothing to do because Peyton Reed has no concept of how to write compelling individuals. Before I get into spoilers, if you liked Ant-Man and don't mind seeing the same shit but done somehow even worse, you'll enjoy this shit-tastic movie. There's your spoiler warning, but why the fuck do you care about something being ruined when there's literally no stakes? I'm not just talking in terms of a threat potentially destroying Earth, but also emotional stakes. The plot revolves around competing parties attempting to steal a building that Hank Pym has shrunk down. Why are we supposed to care about our heroes getting this building? Well, it's simply because there's technology contained within that can be used to retrieve Janet Van Dyne, who is played by Michelle Pfeiffer. Peyton Reed's only attempt at getting us to care about this lost character is through a 5-minute cold open, basically treating the audience like 5-year-olds who didn't remember Ant-Man and how she got stuck in the quantum realm. The scene is without a doubt the funniest in the whole movie. Me and my friend were laughing at how fucking terrible the performances were and how cliche this bullshit was. It's the Room levels of terrible. Paddington 2 actually handles the same sort of plot 10 times more effectively. Paddington as a character is entirely influenced by his Aunt Lucy. Her teachings impact every single action he takes. We also get to see their relationship shown multiple times throughout the first Paddington and its sequel. So when Aunt Lucy shows up at the end of Paddington 2, them reconnecting actually tugs at your heartstrings a little. Make me give a shit, you piece of shit, Peyton Reed. When the core of your movie focuses on this emotional journey to find someone who's been lost for decades, the audience has to feel some emotion. This is done through either having us care about our main characters or having us care about the main objective, which is Janet Van Dyne. Safe to say, Ant-Man 2 has an extremely terrible written cast of humans, and I use the term human lightly considering no one ever feels like they could actually exist. Hope Van Dyne hates Scott Lang, is a badass, and wants to find her mother. Hank Pym also hates Scott, is a dick, and wants to find his wife. Scott is a dumbass, loves his daughter, and wants to be forgiven. We need layers. That's a basic concept in screenwriting, and anyone who says there's deep characters in the Ant-Man franchise may literally have no fucking brain. They gave each main person 3 fucking traits, and that is it if they were lucky. If you're the side character friends of Scott Lang, you have 1, maybe 2 dimensions if Peyton Reed felt like giving a shit while writing you. If the incompetency of Mr. Reed wasn't blatant enough, everyone has a terribly written arc. Scott Lang learns not to give a shit about his house arrest so he can help his friends, I guess. Hope learns to love Scott, but her arc is literally complete halfway through Ant-Man and the Wasp. They decide just to reset how her character has changed, and she has to learn to love him twice in the same fucking AIDS-ridden movie. Hank and Hope are the only 2 that have some sort of progression with their character arcs. I mean, Paul Rudd, Lawrence Fishburne, and Hannah John Kamen all learn the error of their ways after one conversation with another individual. Speaking of Hannah John Kamen, the way Ghost was handled is the biggest waste of potential I have seen since the Mandarin twist in Iron Man 3. I have even more disappointment in this shit than my mother has in me constantly. We're given her motivations which are actually somewhat interesting, with her needing Pym's technology to live, which would require extracting quantum energy out of Janet. So how does the master director himself, Peyton Reed, handle this? Well, he gives us one good example of show not tell with how she can phase through walls, but the rest is literally just explained to us as if we were children. There is no nuance or any hint of cleverness in how our villain is shown to think. We can't even sympathize with her either, considering they just give her Yellow Jacket syndrome, making her go evil and crazy. Why is it that only the bad guys are affected by the Pym particles? Why isn't Scott fucked up already? Or how is Hank not evil? Can someone please give a singular shit? So if Ant-Man and the Wasp has no compelling characters or emotional stakes, is the comedy at the very least any decent? If you thought the original film was hilarious and don't mind those exact same type of jokes being prevalent like crabs in a Russian whore, then you'll be right at home. For others like myself, Paul Rudd's shtick is old and he's basically the male version of Amy Schumer at this point. So if none of these things work, there has to be some good set pieces, right? Action sequences only work when you care about the characters. There is no one in this movie interesting enough for me to give a shit if they live or die. Minus all that, some of the spectacle is kind of alright. A decent portion of the cool visuals were shown in the trailers, so that kind of undercut my theater experience. We literally just got another heist movie. The best MCU movies change up their style at least a bit from the previous movie. Some notable examples being Winter Soldier, Thor Ragnarok, and Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I mean, most of Ant-Man and the Wasp is just okay. The soundtrack, cinematography, lighting, and sound design was all just fine. I honestly stopped looking at those things at times because I was just so fucking bored. This is the perfect movie to take your date to in order to get a hand job. If you ever start falling asleep, you can just get a nice little tug and you'll be good to go. This is the definition of the MCU formula. Jokes combined with forced emotional drama equals at least a 70% or higher on Rotten Tomatoes. The only important thing you need to know going out of this is that in the end credits scene, everyone disintegrates besides Paul Rudd. Why the fuck is this not in the actual film? This is a very important plot point. All in all, if you don't mind watching another 2 hours of the same stuff as the first Ant-Man, you'll like this shit, but for people expecting a good movie, you will hate your experience. I'd give Ant-Man and the Wasp a 2 out of 10. I recommend this movie to anyone who has found every single Marvel movie to be very cool and very awesome. I have some social media on the screen. Leave a like, share, and all that shit. Subscribe, hit the bell, and farewell.